millions of German soldiers crossed the German-Soviet border in the largest land invasion in history, Operation Barbarossa. But this is not just a military campaign. It is a war of annihilation, backed by explicit, written orders from the German High Command. Among them is the infamous Commissar Order, which mandates the immediate execution of Soviet political commissars not as prisoners of war, but as ideological enemies. These men are to be shot on the spot, stripped of all protections under international law. This order sets the tone for a campaign of systemic murder, blurring every line between war and atrocity. When Nazi Germany collapses in 1945, those responsible are brought to justice at Nuremberg. Among them stands a man who helped issue and enforce this order, Alfred Jodl. Alfred Joseph Ferdinand Jodl was born on May 10, 1890, in the garrison town of Würzburg, Germany. His father, also named Alfred Jodl, was a captain in the Bavarian artillery, descending from a long line of officers originally from Tyrol. His mother, Therese Baumgartler, came from lower social ranks. Due to social conventions, his parents remained unmarried until his father retired in 1899. Only then did the 9-year-old Alfred change his surname from his mother's to his father's. Alfred grew up with a younger brother, Ferdinand, who would also become a general in the German army. Jodl's early education moved with his father's postings from Landau in der Pfalz to Munich. At 13, he entered the Bavarian Cadet Corps, a rigid institution of drills, Latin, and icy dormitories. He finally passed his Abitur in 1910, at the age of 20, ranking among the best in his class. Soon after, he joined the 4th Field Artillery Regiment in Augsburg. In 1912, he became a lieutenant second lieutenant. The following year, in September 1913, he married Irma Pauline Caroline Countess von Bullion. Though childless, the marriage elevated him into high society. Months after his wedding, the First World War erupted in July 1914. Jodl participated in the Battle of Saarburg on August 20th and was wounded 4 days later. He was awarded the Iron Cross, second class. He returned to duty in March 1915, was promoted to Oberleutnant in 1916, and transferred to the Eastern Front. In 1917, he became battery commander of the 72nd Royal Hungarian Field Artillery Regiment. In early 1918, he was reassigned to the Western Front as a general staff officer and received the Iron Cross, first class. The war ended, but Jodl continued his military career in the post-war Reichswehr, which was limited to 100,000 men. Under the Treaty of Versailles, his talent stood out. By 1924, he was summoned to Berlin to work in the Reichswehr ministry, and by 1928, he was lecturing on tactics and war history. In 1932, he was promoted to major and became section leader in the Operations Department, a cover for the General Staff, which secretly planned Germany's rearmament. When Adolf Hitler came to power in 1933, these plans leapt into action. Though not a political man, Jodl believed the Treaty of Versailles had humiliated Germany. On June 20, 1935, he became head of the Department of National Defense and was promoted to Oberst Colonel in August. He often stayed at Bischofswiesensteindock, near Hitler's Berghof, when the Führer was in residence. After the Blomberg-Fritsch crisis in 1938, the Wehrmacht's leadership was purged and reorganized under loyal Nazis. Jodl, now working under General Wilhelm Keitel, was briefly assigned to a troop command before being promoted to General Major and recalled to Berlin on August 23, 1939, just before Germany invaded Poland. Hitler appointed him Chief of Operations Staff in the Armed Forces High Command, making him a key planner of Germany's military campaigns. World War II began on September 1, 1939. Poland fell within 5 weeks, followed by invasions of Denmark and Norway in Operation Weserübung, and then the swift defeat of France. For his role, Jodl was promoted to General of Artillery. Then came Directive 21, issued on December 18, 1940, the blueprint for Operation Barbarossa. The directive called for swift encirclements and a rapid Soviet collapse. Jodl also helped draft the Commissar Order of June 6, 1941, which stripped Soviet political officers of POW protections and ordered their execution. In October 1942, Jodl signed the Commando Order, mandating the execution of captured Allied commandos even if they wore uniforms or tried to surrender. Any special forces, agents, or saboteurs not captured in open battle were to be handed over to the SD for immediate execution. When Germany's 1940 summer offensive failed, Jodl criticized Hitler's strategy. Hitler was furious and considered replacing him, especially if Stalingrad fell, which it never did. Publicly, Jodl praised Hitler as a genius. In a November 1943 lecture in Munich, he insisted that the war must be fought to the bitter end, and that surrender would mean the end of Germany. Though not an early Nazi party member, his party number was 9,640. 812. Jodl fully cooperated in Nazi crimes. In 1943, he dismissed concerns about using emergency powers in Denmark to deport Jews, writing, "Nonsense, this is about matters of state necessity." On January 30, 1944, Jodl was promoted to Generaloberst Colonel General. Tragedy struck when his wife died 3 months later. He was still mourning when, on July 20th, a bomb planted by Claus von Stauffenberg exploded in Hitler's headquarters. Jodl, seated beside Hitler, suffered only a minor leg wound and continued to issue orders contributing to deportations and scorched earth tactics. On April 7, 1945, just weeks before Germany's surrender, Jodl married Lucy von Benda, a friend of his late wife. But the war was over. After Hitler's suicide, Grand Admiral Dönitz ordered Jodl to negotiate surrender. On May 7, 1945, Jodl signed the unconditional surrender in Reims. The next day, Field Marshal Keitel signed again in Berlin, at the Soviets' insistence. Jodl was arrested on May 23, 1945, and imprisoned. At the Nuremberg trials, he faced charges of conspiracy, crimes against peace, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. His defense argued that he was merely a soldier following orders, but documents with his own initials expose his direct involvement in atrocities. He pled not guilty, before God, before history, and my people. But the court found him guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to death. His request for execution by firing squad was denied. Like Keitel and Goering, he would hang for his criminal, not military, actions. On October 16, 1946, Sergeant John C. Woods, an untrained executioner, carried out the hanging. Jodl's drop was too short to snap his neck, and he died by strangulation, a slow, 18-minute death. His final words, "I salute you, my eternal Germany." His remains, like those of the other executed men, were cremated in Munich and their ashes scattered in the Wensbach River to prevent their graves from becoming neo-Nazi shrines. Thanks for watching Map of Memories. Be sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you don't miss future episodes. We appreciate your support and we'll see you next time.